And as guests come on and stuff, it's gonna be
You look like you're on live already, huh?
huh?
You on now?
No, I just put it's just to go live. It says, ooh.
Yeah, you went live. You better end the broadcast unless you live right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Education is the Best Medicine. Thanks for tuning in. A little bit early. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. It's been a great week. And I've had some physical challenges, but we all do. I want to say hello to everyone. We usually start around uh, 2 o'clock, but I triggered everything live on the show, so here we are. This is Education is the Best Medicine. We are a 501, no, excuse me, we're a nonprofit at this point. I have to recertify my nonprofit status. And but I want to thank everyone for tuning in and watching over the years. And so, um, Education is the Best Medicine um, uh, was created about 25 years ago, and it was my uh, wish to create a forum and dialogue around not just medicine but education. Thus, education is the best medicine. Um, and Want to kind of thank everyone for supporting me over the years, and Mark and his wife and the new baby. Uh, like to thank the production staff here, Curtis, um, and for making us and my Facebook family. Thank you for tuning in. It's so I want to talk a little bit. So again, say hello, everyone, and just some thoughts on my mind. And like I said, it's been a long week, but a great week. Great practice. I'm working in a adult medicine clinic in Solano, and having some great conversations. Seeing a lot of chronic illness, a lot of hypertension, a lot of diabetes, a lot of mental health challenges, a lot of wound care. Really a very diverse population, and English as a second language, Punjabi, Chinese, Japanese, Tagalog, um, and just an interesting group of people. And wanted to start off the show with a discussion about me. And I'm always about personal stories, and so I thought this would be a great one. I'm 67, and I a week or so ago I fell and I hit my head and I injured my neck. Uh, and at the time that the whole process happened, I had a flashback about one of my first talks in medicine, which was on falls. I had been working in a long-term residential facility, and the nurse manager at that time uh, asked me to do a talk to the staff in regards to falls, and it was recorded. And if you go to my website, you'll probably be able to find it. I've got to speak with my website person about how we're going to catalog all these shows I've done. And so I was asked to do a talk on falls, and I said yes, of course. And as I was sitting there, I hit my head, and I was in pain, and I was sitting on the floor. Hadn't lost consciousness, thank goodness. I decided, I guess, at that time, I bit my tongue too, and my tongue was bleeding, was just terrible. To do this talk this weekend, today on falls, and also it got me thinking about not just with the falls, the current Surgeon General's discussion on loneliness, and yes, it was. This was all happening while I was laying. I was sitting on the floor, and trying to right myself and try to recover as I got up and kind of got myself together, and just my neck was so sore. It's just, it's almost similar to having my hernia surgery. Just very painful, but it's fine. Didn't go to the hospital. Just kind of stayed quiet. Got some great people to come over and help and put things together, and so I was able to stay at home. And also kind of gotten to me about discussions around loneliness, but also the TV again was flashing and discussions around post Roe versus Wade and the health care of women post the Supreme Court's decision to turn back the clock on abortion. And I also wanted to mention what happens, again, this is thoughts in my mind, what happens when a white female in a public forum infers that a black man over conversation in an open forum and that she felt intimidated and threatened. And what does that mean what has it meant in America for African American men? And I think about Emmett Till, who was murdered for supposedly whistling at a white female. And so I've got an endpoint piece too that I want to talk about the phrase "I got your back." What does that mean? I got your back. What does that? What does that honestly say? So, of course, I asked GPT chat, and men and people over 50, what is the significance of falls? And this is what GP chat, which is artificial intelligence, by the way. Yeah. That's what they say, that this will overtake our society because we're using it right now to provide data sets and points of information. And the only issue is it coming from a good source or a bad source? We'll soon find out. That's the concern. So it says that physical injuries, falls can result in various physical injuries. The impact of falls can be varied depending on the various factors such as the individual's overall health, physical fitness, and the circumstances of the fall. Well, I felt I'm in very good health. I just tripped over something. It was just the weirdest thing. But I always try to maintain my physical health and take care of myself, and in terms of eating and resting. So I think that when folks like myself in my age group have these kinds of injuries because you're going to get injured. It's just like driving a car. You're going to get in an accident. Sorry. Sometimes it happens. It's not just if it happens, it's how you recover from it and what you have to do about it. And luckily, again, I'm trying to do those things. It says that, again, the effect of the fall depends on the circumstances of the fall and the person's overall health. But some of the key points to consider in discussing the effects of the fall of this age group, and I would say 50 and over, physical injuries. Falls can result in various physical injuries, neck pain, right? Ranging from minor bruises and sprains to more severe fractures, head fractures, and even permanent disabilities. Older adults are more susceptible to fractures, especially in areas like the hip, spine, wrist, which can significantly affect their mobility and independence and affect the quality of life. And so this is the concern around falls that although they can be minor, they can also be major. And one of the key issues with falls is, again, the ability to do the activities of daily living and the ability to eat and feed and clothe oneself. Again, just key issues. Uh, and, and so we have to be careful about falls. Falls can have a psychological impact. Falls can also have a psychosocial, in the social effects of an individual. After experiencing a fall, older adults may develop a fear of falling again, of course, leading to anxiety and reduced confidence in their own abilities. So the whole concept of a fall as a physical state can affect your mind, body, spirit. And you have to live with the discussion that if you fall once, you can fall again. Just like if you have a stroke once, you can have a stroke again. Um, it's fear, and the fear can limit people's ability to have activity and increase social isolation, negatively impacting their own overall well-being. Again, gets back to this issue around loneliness. So the interface between a fall and physical limitations and psychiatric issues in terms of anxiety, depression, and fear are common. Decline in mobility and functional abilities. Falls can lead to a decline in the mobility and functional abilities, making it more challenging for older adults to perform daily tasks independently. So that's what happens when a individual falls. They are frightened of falling again, and thereby they try or do less. And so they're molded into the discussion of doing less. And on my road to recovery, I think that's the hardest thing to do, to understand how to do less so that you can do more. So progressively, I say when folks fall, they have to be in a rehab program, if not their own one that's developed for them that allows them to get back to their level of independence. So, because we want people to have their independence. Uh, and sometimes it requires the assistance from caregivers or healthcare professionals. Increased healthcare utilization and costs. Falls often require medical attention, leading to increased healthcare utilization and associated costs. And I think that's one of the things when I did this talk maybe 30 years ago at the residential facility. Um, I didn't realize, again, as I remember, a lot of the folks that had falls had to go to the ER for assessments or fractures or whatever. And so I never made that connection between increased costs, but yes, it is increased costs, increased utilization of the healthcare system. Falls often require medical attention, leading to increased healthcare utilization and associated costs. Hospitalization, rehabilitation, and ongoing treatments can be necessary, adding to the health burden for individuals in the healthcare systems. The long-term impact on quality of life. I'm experiencing that now. Just takes longer to do things. I'm going to rehab and I'll be back to running. I know I will be. but it just takes longer. You have to take time because you have to heal. So the long-term impact of quality of life. Consequences of falls including physical injuries, reduced mobility, and psychological effects can significantly impact individual quality of life. Older adults may experience limitations in participating in activities they enjoy, such as hobbies, social events, physical exercise leading to a decline in overall health and well-being. So we just stop doing what we like to do because we're frightened. And if we don't have a way of getting back to that level, and I wouldn't even just say this is for uh, elder, I'm saying anyone that's had an injury, a major injury of some type. It's hard to rehab, and that's why we really have to kind of respect a lot of the athletes that after these injuries come back and come back and sometimes provide performing at a higher level. Something to think about. Um, Says to mitigate the effects of falls among older adults, preventive measures are crucial. They may include regular exercise programs to improve strength and balance, home safe modifications, regular vision and hearing checkups, medication reviews to minimize side effects that may increase the risk of falls, appropriate footwear, additionally raising awareness about fall prevention, providing education, support to older adults can play a vital role in reducing the incident and impact of falls in this age group. I think that's the way to go. Rehab, again, and making the house safe, um, reassessing pathways, and I have no rugs, it's flat, vinyl. But again, could do a little bit better about pathways and yeah, vision checkup. It's time for that. And not any major medicines. Uh, just use Tylenol for the pain. And you only took that one once. So yes, falls are deadly. We need to be cognizant of them, be careful of them around the home. We need to make sure not ourselves, but our loved ones and our kids and everyone be careful, so they don't fall. You get injuries that need to be dealt with. Um, and so some of the recommendations from up to date as discussions, uh, and usually we're seeing people, 34% of the community joining people over age 65, and 50% of those in long-term facilities fall each year. Major injuries result from 5% of the falls in the community and 10% of the falls in institutions. And up to date talked about risk factors. Up to date is the clinical database that I use for information review. It's one of the better ones in the country and the world. And notes risk factors. Falls in older person are due to intrinsic stressors, uh, working in conjunction with age-related intrinsic factors that increase the vulnerability to falls. Multiple factors that have been identified include history of fall, lower extremity weakness, age, female sex, cognitive impairment, balance problems, psychotropic drug use, arthritis, history of stroke, low blood pressure, dizziness, anemia, and medications play a large role. Med reviews are always important in terms of psychotropic drugs and sedatives. Um, and benzodiazepines are really indicated here a lot, so just understanding the types of medicine. If older persons can be evaluated for fall risk, and to assess their risk of falls and limit those issues. Again, general blood work is important for complete blood count and blood urea nitrogen, which looks at the kidney, and creatinine looks at the kidney, glucose levels, blood pressure, echocardiograms, making folks don't have arrhythmias or things like atrial fibrillation. Heart beating too fast, too slow can put you at risk for falls. And again, definitely assessing the environment. Some discussions around low vitamin D and uh, you do like some spirals. Again, weakness of bones. The jury, I think, is kind of out on vitamin D, but if there is a deficiency, couldn't hurt to get you to level. Uh, and again, as I was lying on the floor, I thought about loneliness, about being by myself, and scared. It scared me. I righted myself. Glad I hadn't lost consciousness, which is great. But it got me thinking about the recent Surgeon General's discussion about loneliness. Uh, and of course, went back to CBG chat and asked the question: what is loneliness or social isolation? The answer: loneliness and social isolation are related but distinct concepts that refer to different aspects of an individual's social relationships and experiences. Uh, up to date, up to date, understand and understood and discuss loneliness in regards to grief, bereavement, but not other discussions. Usually, this is in the context of loss or death or a loved one. But in regards to discussion around isolated loneliness, uh, it wasn't. It referred to more like mental health concerns in the discussion. And so, the definition for loneliness. This is GBT chat. Loneliness refers to the subjective feeling of being alone or lacking meaningful social connections. It is an emotional state characterized by a sense of emptiness and sadness or dissatisfaction resulting from a perceived discrepancy between the desired and the actual quality and quantity of social relationships. Loneliness can occur even when a person is surrounded by others if they feel disconnected or misunderstood. It's important to note that loneliness is a subjective experience, and different individuals may have different thresholds for feeling lonely. I thought that was really kind of interesting because we just think of people being lonely as being isolated by themselves, and in reality, that's not true. I guess the extension of that is that although a person with a mental health challenge is in a room with people, if he or she is depressed or has anxiety or has social phobia or has ADHD, they may not feel connected with the folks in that room. And I think that's something we need to kind of start thinking about and looking about. A number of these young men that were shooters felt lonely. They didn't feel connected to anyone or anything. Thereby, that caused them to act out. So, something to think about. Social isolation. Social isolation, on the other hand, refers to the objective state of having limited or no social interactions or contact with others. It occurs when an individual lacks access to social relationships, networks, and social support systems. Social isolation can be voluntary, which is when someone chooses to live alone or prefers solitude. But it can be also involuntary due to various circumstances like physical disability, geographic location, or social exclusion. Prolonged social isolation can lead to the feelings of loneliness and negatively impact a person's mental and physical well-being. And yes, when you injure yourself and you have to recover, and that recovery is usually by yourself, you feel a little isolated. You have to. You feel, can you get back to where you're at? Will you be able to do what you need to do? Just moving my neck from right to left and not hurting. That's a real major jump for me. So I think that we have to kind of understand that a number of things that we're dealing with from a physical standpoint can affect us. And now I understand why the Surgeon General wanted to highlight loneliness because of COVID, right? COVID, lots of history of isolation and inability to connect with family and friends, and and what kind of emotional and psychological dynamic has it, and what is continuing to create with our children as well as our families. And so it's something to think about as we try to work on us. If you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. And it's important to address feelings of loneliness and social isolation by seeking social connections, fostering supportive relationships, and engaging in activities that promote social interaction. Additionally, individuals experience persistent loneliness or social isolation may benefit from seeking professional help, such as counseling or therapy, to better understand and cope with their emotions and develop strategies for building meaningful social connections. Makes sense to me. It's like the prescription is to go and talk with friends and family and interact and understand that COVID will be here. Wear your mask, but start that long train back to interacting. Interesting enough, I find that my limited understanding of the transportation system and the lack of ridership on BART is a whole swath of people missing and losing social interaction from the day-to-day commute or to the athletic event or to the um, dinner or to the social event or just a ride. That's where that social connection and isolation uh, becomes so strong and where those connections are lost. Um, I would use, and it's a very poor marker, but I would say that we can kind of parallel our level of social isolation and loneliness with the level of people that ride BART back and forth, particularly on the weekends, right? Post COVID, BART was packed. You know, now the discussions are it's not clean enough, and you know, although it's changed, the real discussion is social interactions, loneliness, and social isolation. How we stay human. So, with being said, I'd like to give a special shout out to all the graduates this year. Miss Howard and her sisters are graduating. I want to give a special shout out to uh, Dee Flanagan and her training and approach to getting her master's. She's getting ready to go into her clerkship, and she's going to do an excellent job. I know that. I want to say congratulations, and again, thank you to my great granddaughter Kaylee and my great grandchildren, Kanisha, all of them. Love them to death. And I'm really proud to know that black women I know they're pursuing their education and moving to those levels of higher education on all levels. Um, and I know some of them had trepidation, some were concerned, but they accepted the challenge and went forward. And uh, they can check that one off the box. I wish them well and keep it moving. I wish them all success in the world. They deserve it, and it's just the kind of interest. It's interesting because remembering at one time, it was illegal for African Americans to be read, to learn how to read and write, and those that tried to teach us were also a victim of legal jeopardy. How things change. Well, again, some things are on my mind, and I asked GBT Chat So, what are the implications for women's health post Roe v. Wade? We see so much happening now about this. And again, nothing makes me feel more concerned than when men are deciding what a woman should do with her body. Three-quarters of America now have some of the most restrictive abortion laws. And these are some of the laws that were trigger laws, and we're just waiting for Roe v. Wade to be invalidated. And they automatically take into place. And it seems like the more time a lot of these men legislatures have, the more time they have to concoct these really bizarre uh, abortion uh, limits. Uh, Roe v. Wade again was a landmark decision by the United States Supreme Court in 1973 that legalized abortion nationwide. The ruling has had significant implications for women's health in several ways. Access to safe and legal abortion. Before Roe v. Wade, many women saw it unsafe, and they took unsafe. They seeked unsafe, clandestine abortions. The flip side to that now is that they could be in a hospital setting in 2023, and if depending on the laws, the um, the doctor or the healthcare service or the clinic could get in trouble for helping this woman with an abortion. So you now it's not whether people going to the back doors and using the coat hangers. It's being refused to care, and them having to come back to here because they're so sick. It says legalized abortion provide women with access to safe medical procedure, reducing the risk associated with unsafe abortions. And now 50% of abortions are done vis-a-vis chemical. So it's even a lower risk level. In fact, some of these drugs that we talked about, the misprostone, they're safer than penicillin, safer than Viagra. So, boy, you figure. Reproductive autonomy. The decision affirmed a woman's constitutional right to privacy, including the right to make decisions about her reproductive health. This recognition of reproductive autonomy allows women to make informed choices about their bodies, pregnancies, and futures. So, I think that's the biggest. I'm going to read that again. The decision to affirm a woman's constitutional right to privacy, including the right to make decisions about her reproductive health. This recognition of reproductive autonomy allows women to make informed choices about their bodies, pregnancies, and their future. Why would we not want that? Why would I not want that for my mother, for my sister, for my grandchildren, my four granddaughters? Why would I want that? Why would I want that? Improve maternal health by legalizing abortion. Roe versus Wade contributed to a decline in maternal mortality rates. Women who can access safe and legal abortions have an option to end pregnancies that may pose risk to their health. The flip side to that is women of color, African American women, still have the highest infant mortality rate in terms of carrying a child to term and delivering that child. And if they deliver the child, it's usually preemie. Some things haven't changed. They still haven't answered this question about why so many African American women are dying in childbirth. And they're well educated, and they have college degrees, and they have the best insurance, and they're still dying. I always say, if you don't care about me, then how can you take care of me? So, it also increased access to reproductive health care. The ruling not only legalized abortion, but also help pave the way for increased access to other reproductive health care services. This includes access to contraceptives, family planning, comprehensive reproductive health care, which can positively impact a woman's well-being, health and well-being. And so what this discussion is that healthcare for women should be comprehensive, and it shouldn't just be limited to her breast or to her vagina. And when we don't provide these services in a shared decision making, patient-centered care model, then we do disservice to the people we're taking care of, or we're saying we're taking care of. Social economic impact of Roe versus Wade had a significant impact on women's social and economic standards by allowing women to control their reproductive choices and enable them to pursue education, careers, and other life opportunities. This in turn can have long-term benefit for their overall health and well-being. I've always said there was the issue of control and power. This whole issue around abortion is an issue around control and power. And again, abortion, hey, neither here nor there. How about women's right to choose? That's the argument that I frame. Not for a procedure, but for a woman's right to choose, to have dominion over her body. That's what's at stake here. And I understand that I believe radio, RTV, is a religious news station. I respect that now. I've always respected, but I also respect my First Amendment rights to speak the truth, um, and just and truth to power. So these discussions, regardless of how you feel about them, how you feel about abortion or about women's right to choose, it should be her right to choose. My mother chose to have me in 1955, and she almost died. And as I thought about that, she chose to carry me to term because she was a God-fearing woman. But if I had thought it would have been endangered her life, I would have chosen not to become here. Women should have a right. Women should have that right. My granddaughter should have that right. And to all the mothers that have made that choice over time, my love, and respect to goes out to you and all you do. It's a great thing that you do because I work in healthcare, and as I can take care of some of the women, and they come in with their swollen feet and their allergies, and they've been carrying this baby for such a long time, and they're not mad. They're smiling, in fact. So I think that's something you really have to have a say over in what you have to do. Um, and I want to thank those patients over my life that allowed me to see their pregnancies come to term or choose not to. Love either way. Um, and I think I just kind of understand how significant it is, and particularly for women of color, to bring children to term. And we should be quite understanding and supportive if they choose not to. Uh, and I guess the other thing that kind of got me was that 30% of Americans want to support an individual who has been accused of a sex crime. Just think about that. 30% of Americans choose to support an individual that is an abuser of women. And there seems no let up in his march to a second presidential nomination. And I think the bar is real low right now. And I am glad that she stood up. And on a further note, I was watching Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she stated that an African American uh, member of Congress, and my understanding that they talked back and forth and banter, and the issue was George Santos and whether he should remain a legislator in the U.S. Congress. And if you don't know that story, I can't waste time with that one. Go look him up and see what power does and what absolute power does. Absolutely. Uh, why wouldn't we have an institution like slavery when you turn your head to just some of the most despicable acts an individual could do in terms of being elected? Um, so, so I asked the question: what's the historical context of the U.S. history when American white female states that uh, she feels threatened by an African American male? And when I think about this, I think about Emmett Till and his brutal murder at the hands of two white men after he supposedly whistled at a white woman. And I know his mother, to the day she passed, had an issue about sending him to the South, but it was not uncommon for young black families to send their children back to the South to visit grandparents and family and see where they had come from. Not uncommon. So this is what GPT chat said. The historical context of American white female feeling threatened by an African American male in the United States is a complex and multifaceted. It's important to note that discussing this topic requires sensitivity and understanding of the historical context of race relations in the United States. Isn't that interesting? It's complex and it's multifaceted. And even GPT chat asked that you be sensitive about it. Okay. A computer asked that you be sensitive. We be sensitive. Let's see. It says that he says it says throughout American history, racial tensions and prejudices have played a significant role in shaping social interactions and perceptions. The United States has had a long history of racial inequality, with African Americans facing systemic racism and discrimination for centuries. That's so. Even the relationship between African American men and white females has been contentious, multifactual, and layered with racism and prejudice and social interactions and perceptions. During the era of slavery, African Americans were considered property and subject to the dehumanization and extreme violence. After abolition of slavery, the Reconstruction era saw the, the Reconstruction after Reconstruction the, the Reconstruction era saw some progress in civil rights for African Americans, but it was short lived. The end of Jim Crow, excuse me, the end of Reconstruction marked the beginning of Jim Crow era. characterized by segregation, voter suppression, and widespread discrimination against African Americans. I don't think that much has changed. It says, so since Jim Crow era characterized segregation, voter suppression, and widespread discrimination against African Americans. So we've been dealing with this since the end of Reconstruction and the beginning of Jim Crow. Again, the initial question I asked was, what's the historical context of white females being threatened, of white females feeling they're being threatened by African American men? Lynching, a form of extrajudicial punishment and a public spectacle primarily targeting African Americans, were prevalent throughout this time. So when folks ask me about what do I think is different about the African American experience versus anyone else, about the discrimination and racism and sexism experience, I put up to them lynching. And I would ask to show me any other arena where you were lynched. As a thing to do, as a public spectacle. I asked all the communities that claim, and they would fair issue discrimination because America was an equal discriminating body. I even was looking at something about the Chinese American experience and them building the railroads. And after they built the railroads, they weren't even put in the picture. But they weren't lynched. They were arrested, but they weren't lynched. They weren't as a public spectacle. I think the closest to me in my historical understanding would be the Native Americans, because the Native Americans went to war. And when they lost the war, they were subjugated. But they had went to war. Lynching. All American. False accusations of African American men threatening or assaulting white women were sometimes used as justification for these acts of racial violence, perpetuating a narrative of fear and reinforcing racial stereotypes. These historical dynamics and stereotypes have been lasting effects of perceptions and interactions between white individuals, particularly women and African American men. The idea of the dangerous black man has been deeply ingrained in American society, perpetuating fear and mistrust. It is important to recognize that such perceptions are rooted in historical biases and stereotypes rather than inherent threat posed by African American men. Well, if you keep showing us on TV and we're always got a gun, we're always threatening somebody, and we know we seem to be the buttress of all the violent, acts in America. And anytime something happens that's violent in America, they point to African American men. But when the violence is acted upon us, it's a mistake. This issue reflects an ongoing struggle to overcome racial prejudice and achieving equality in American society. Efforts to address these biases and promote understanding and empathy are vital toward moving to a more just and inclusive society. That's something to think about. That is really something to think about. That what Miss Green did to the representatives is a historic racial trope, and it goes on the backs of lynching. So when white women feel threatened by African American men from a historical context, they would go home, tell their husbands, sons, lovers that this particular African American had threatened them, at some point in time they got lynched to keep you in your place, to make you feel like you weren't too uppity. That's the place of that racist trope by Miss Green about her feeling threatened. And I guess it's offshoot to the Karens, right? Threatened. Because the natural offshoot would have been for them to be lynched in the good old days, whatever those days are. And I had to, and with all these things with my neck and all this stuff and all the things that happened, um, I want to ask myself again. These are all the things in my mind, right? All the things in my mind. And again, May is Mental Health Month. Please take time for yourself. Take care of yourself. All you students, it's only a grade. Doesn't define who you are, your character, or whether you're a good person or bad person, or whether you're going to get to heaven. It's just a grade. Um, the statement, I got your back. What does that mean? What does it mean when someone says, I got your back? So, in the final part of the show, I'm going to see what they was talking about here. The statement, I got your back, is an idiom that originated in American English. It's a colloquial expression used to convey support, loyalty, solidarity towards someone. It's just someone. You don't have to be anybody particular, just someone. The phrase implies that the person speaking will provide assistance, protection, or help to the individual they are addressing, particularly in challenging or difficult situations. The meaning I got your back does not inherently differ based on gender or race. It's a statement that can be used by anyone, regardless of the gender or racial background, to express their commitment to support and stand up for someone else. The phrase emphasizes the idea of having someone support, trust, protection, irrespective of differences in gender or race. However, it is important that the statement "I got your back" can carry different connotations or implications based on the dynamics of power, privilege, historical experiences associated with gender and race. It's essential to consider the specific context and the individual involved in order to fully understand the dynamics and meaning behind the statement. So I said, okay. I had to ask the second question. I said, well, what's the difference between someone having your back and someone being used? The difference between someone having your back and someone being used lies in the intent and nature of the relationship. When someone has your back, it means they are supportive of the law and willing to assist or protect you when needed. They genuinely care about your well-being and they are there to offer their support, guidance, or assistance. As someone who has your back can create a sense of trust and security, knowing that you have someone in your corner who will support you through changes or difficult situations. On the other hand, of course, it's always on the other hand, right? Because it was a two-part question. On the other hand, when someone is being used, it implies that another person is taking advantage of them for their own benefit without considering well-being or reciprocating the support. Being used involves manipulation, exploitation, or selfish motives where someone is treated as a means to an end rather than as an equal partner. In healthy relationships, someone has your back. There is a mutual understanding and reciprocity. It means what I give, what I get, and what I get is what I give. Both parties support and care for each other, creating a balanced and supportive dynamic. Conversely, being used implies an imbalanced relationship where one person is being taken advantage of without being on the same level of support or consideration in return. It's important to be aware of the dynamics in relationships and ensure they are based on trust, mutual support, and respect. Building a relationship with people who genuinely have your back fosters a positive and supportive environment while being cautious of those who have ulterior motives. Protects your well-being. The difference between someone having your back and someone being used. Well, and the reason why I brought that up is because I felt a lot of people had my back in this injury and were supportive. Because men in pain can be whiny. We can be really, really, really whiny. And again, I want to say happy graduation to all of the graduates. Miss Hania Bradley is having a birthday party. Happy birthday, Hania. She's a great cook too. Does a lot of work. Maybe I'll get a chance to get her on, talk about what's going on in the pots. Some babies ceremonies today. Just, hey, you guys enjoy those kids. I love it. Boards are going well. Studying for my boards. I think at this point in life, people that are in healthcare have to love healthcare because they have to learn a lot more now. There's a lot more things to do. And again, May is Mental Health Month. Mental illness is common. It's estimated that more than 5 in 1 adults live with a mental illness. That's like 57.8 million in 2021. Mental illness includes many of the different conditions that are varying degree of severity, ranging from mild to moderate to severe. Two broad categories can be used to describe conditions sometimes. Some definitions of any mental illness is defined as a mental, behavioral, or emotional disorder that can impact ranging from no impairment to mild to moderate to even severe impairment. Individuals with severe mental illness are the definition of severe mental illness is defined as a mental, behavioral, or emotional disorder resulting in serious functioning impairment which substantially interferes with the limits of one or more major life activities. The burden of mental illness is particularly concerned for those who experience disability. And also, speaking of fun, hey, Juneteenth's coming up. Annual Juneteenth. The good pastor is going to be the lead on this, Pastor Austin. He's going to be doing the main address, and hope you get a chance to come out and see him. I'll be doing the cleanup. That's what I do. I want to thank everyone that's been associated with Juneteenth. I want to thank definitely the Sisters Foundation, the Howard Sisters, the organizations that contribute and support Juneteenth. Much love to us. Much love. It's been a long journey, and boy, I tell you, when they decided to make Juneteenth a national holiday, I knew we were right on point. See, we've got about 10 minutes. Wow. It sure did go fast. Miss Howard will be back next week. Want to, again, give congrats to her and the sisters for graduating and all the graduates out there, high school, college. Do your thing. I love it. Uh, enjoy your new careers. Um, Gonna be challenging out there, but you can get it done. Uh, Say don't give up. Don't ever give up. Uh, RTV, Believe Radio, uh, 24-hour gospel inspirational channel. Um, we're here. I'm here about twice out of the month. Um, and This is the Education's Best Medicine Show. I'm George Pearson. I'm a physician's assistant. I'm practicing about 35 years. My background's in internal medicine, family practice. My area especially is populations at risk. I enjoy treating and working with folks with adverse life experiences, substance abuse, and the treatment. Really enjoy the mental health aspects of the care. Heal the mind, heal the body. Accept the differences. No judgment. Uh, Really starting to work with and enjoy the LBGD community, and continue to work with them in terms of healthcare access and needs and a voice. Want to thank Curtis for all his help. Uh, Always here. You don't do this by yourself. Never done anything by myself. So I wouldn't want you to start telling tales like that.
How you doing?
Uh,
Yeah, this is Vince.
Would like to again wish everybody the best holiday. Labor Day's coming up. Want to thank Jeffrey Pete down in Oakland. I don't know why they're messing with you, Jeff. They should leave you alone. One of our older black club institutions, Jeffrey's Institution. Don't mess with it. Want to thank all the folks that have supported us over the years. And we're going to keep it moving. Again, thank you all. I think that we always want to have healthy relationship. Someone has your back. It's a mutual understanding. It's a reciprocity, and both parties support and care for each other, creating a balance and support in a dynamic. That's what we hope to do. That's what we will continue to do. I want to thank you for taking some time in your busy schedule to spend some time with me on some things that I think are just so important. Get out there, get involved. We're going to have to vote. We're going to be proactive as opposed to reactive. We can't not think that things are going to be okay. Freedom doesn't rest. I need to be involved in interfacing in the society, advocating for the homeless, advocating for those that have mental health challenges, advocating for young single African American women, for young African American men, advocating for fairness, change, equity, advocating to be woke. So we should be. If we're not, what's coming down the pike should scare everybody. It has to, because they want to exclude sections of people from the society. They don't want them to exist. Sounds like slavery to me. 3/5 of a human being. African Americans should understand that in the Constitution, we're in the Constitution, we're just 3/5 of a human being. That tells you something about the mindset. And whether you like reparations or not, it's okay. I was listening to some of the discussions against it, and what a number of the major slave trading nations were saying that, well, everyone was doing it, so what was the problem? They were just human beings. Again, that's why we need to understand history, because if you minimize that, you should minimize everything. You should minimize all these atrocities of the world.
You still on here?
Yeah. So um, I want to say thank you again. It's been great. We went a little over, but we fine. I want to take care. Ms. Howard will be back next week. Be safe out there. Hey, enjoy your week.